number of movie references that this week's episode of The Day I Became a God had me rolling. We had Armageddon, we had Rocky, we had Edward Scissorhands. This was a movie lover's dream episode, having it recreated in an attempt to gain our main boy Yuta's love, to get his crush to really engage with him, and it just always ended in total and utter failure. You gotta love this show, and I'm gonna go as far to say, now I've seen all but I think one or two of the main key projects that Jun has worked on, and I would go as far to say that the first two episodes of all of them that I've seen, personally for me, this anime right here has my favorite first two episodes. It really does hit all the right notes for me. I love the banter between Hina and Yuta, and the more characters we get introduced to. I mean, Sora herself, this movie lover fanatic, I think she's amazing. I love how Yota just has no ability to say no to her, not in this flirtatious brother-sister way, but literally just he dotes over his little sister and will do anything for her. And I feel like she may take advantage of that from time to time. I mean, you get the ominous end of the episode with once again Hina predicting something tragic happening, and seemingly she had some sort of accident. But at the end of the day, I'm not thinking they're going supernatural. I really thought there's going to be an end of the world after last week's episode, but seemingly, just based on how normal a lot of this show is, I feel as if maybe it's a death sentence for Hina herself. I'm wondering if they're going the direction that the end of the world for her is that she has a shorter life expectancy. Maybe there's something wrong with her heart or something. And I'm very curious if it is something with hearts, because Jun himself, the creator of this show, had a heart transplant before making this show. After his heart transplant, he came and wrote this show. So I'm curious if that experience is going to play a factor in The Day I Became a God, because I'm curious if potentially, this is obviously wild speculation. There isn't much to base it off of based on these two episodes. This is just experience with his work in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if potentially the end of the world for her is her heart's going to give out in 30 days, or if that's the general expectancy. And I'm curious if she's going to need a heart transplant tying into his own real life experiences, or if that's actually going to make him have a more positive outlook, because generally his works are pretty sad at the end of the day. And that's obviously wild speculation, and there's nothing to base that off of, but just based on experiences with anime similar to this, especially from Jun's other works, I would think that'd be very interesting. And what if, there's going to be like, Yoda wants to do it or something? I don't know. There's a lot of ways to make it a very sad show, and I think anyone with experience of his past work assumes this will be the saddest anime of the season. It's guised in this very happy-go-lucky coat of paint, and while there are these moments of uncertainty like the end of episode 2, at the end of the day you can definitely say this is a very cheerful show that has a lot of fun, but at the same time that's always his saddest works at the end of the day. So I'm excited to see where they take it. But like I said, the number of movie references I love, because it wasn't that one-off gag of like, oh, here's him dressed as Edward Scissorhands, or here's him as an astronaut trying to save the Earth. They literally recreated these movies, even if they're only 5-minute scenes, as the sister is foaming at the mouth thinking she's going to make bank, and how her brother is, once again not able to actually succeed at getting his girl, as she makes the best movies ever. And I love how they keep reintroducing the dad who's just like, why am I here? Or the actual crush being like, why am I here? Can I go home yet? And just the nonchalant banter where you have our boy Yota really trying so hard to make this movie work, and she just so casually is like, yeah, that doesn't make sense since when have you drilled for oil? Oh, I've been doing it since I was a kid. Oh yeah? Runs around the corner, sparklers go off, he comes back, and he's like, oh, what, did you go for a run? No, I just saved the world. The casual banter in the show is absolutely hilarious, and this was honestly a stunning episode for visuals. The number of absurd reactions had me dying. I love how hilarious this show is. I know some people weren't a big fan of Hina's like over-the-top nature. For me, I really liked her persona because she never really struck that nerve of she's an annoying brat, but rather it felt like a younger friend that this guy has had for so long, and they really just have really great chemistry and banter. And because our main male protagonist isn't this like horrible person, like you can like laugh at him and say it's cliche that he didn't have the nerve to ask her out again when he had the perfect opportunity after bonding over this beautiful piano scene, which we'll definitely touch upon more later. But at the end of the day, for anyone his age, most people don't have that confidence to say, especially after being turned down once already, to ask her out again. That's a very normal male insecurities for someone his age. You can't really say, oh, he doesn't have this like 20 years experience with relationships, so he should just man up. I mean, the guy tried once before and failed miserably, so it's understandable why he didn't have a second chance there and just kind of felt bad afterwards. The piano scene, though, I have to say was gorgeous. I actually like the idea of her just having all these talents and predictions, and like if they're not going supernatural, I feel like she's just very good at observing things, because maybe if she does have a shorter life expectancy. I know this is all theories, but I mean, it would make sense that she really had to like examine people a lot quicker than most because she only has a short time with them and doesn't want to waste the opportunity. Parents are saying that this is a distant relative. I wouldn't be surprised if she had a very shitty family life and has kind of made this whole vision of like she became a god because she had such a shitty life. I know not everyone's going to have watched Fire Force, but there's a character in that show, Arthur, who has a delusional persona, and that's because of a shitty childhood. So maybe Hina herself has a delusional persona of herself because of a shitty childhood, and if she does have a shorter life expectancy, which I honestly think would be an incredible and emotional plot line, especially if it tied into the writer's own real experiences. Obviously, they don't have to take their own experiences, but you can look at a lot of really great authors' works. They take those experiences and really turn it into something compelling with a sort of anime twist. But overall, like, I definitely feel like if this is a girl who's had a very shitty childhood and hopefully now is going to actually be able to experience a summer worth living. And I don't know if they're going to go really bittersweet, because usually with these projects, that's how they go in terms of the ending and things like that. But to have moments like that piano scene of him really trying his hardest, you know, she writes him this track and he just practices and practices and practices, goes over to her house, and he's not the best, but he's not the worst either. You can tell he put an honest to go effort into it, and then she sits down and it turns into, honestly, it reminded me of Sound Euphonium, just in terms of how she was just really getting into that music. And it was this very romantic scene of her really embracing her greatest passion, which is music, and wanting to write those for movies, which really does tie into the whole theme of the episode overall, which I really appreciated. The episode was hilarious. Non-stop, constant shift. I mean, Hina herself had so many disgusted faces that was just amazing to look at. And then just the number of our boy just being like, not again, I will not do this. And then his sister would come in the room and he's like, okay, I'll absolutely do this. And I really do have to compliment that, because anime is so known for having those brother and sister relationships where it is just like you feel like there's this incest bait, where here it just felt like really close siblings and he's like willing to protect her. He would give his life for her, which I think is going to be pretty heavy in the next episodes to see how she probably like fell off a bike or something. I mean, granted, it could be a lot more hit by a car. I mean, you never know with June. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's going to be very heavy for him and how he's going to overcome that. I am very curious about the predictions. I feel like she might just have very good ways at observing things, and maybe there is a superstition in the world, like maybe stuff like don't go under ladders or don't cross a black cat on the street. Like maybe that actually does have real world implications in this series, and that's just how she like observes things, like, oh, you dropped the plate, so therefore something bad probably did happen. Not that she actually has this divine prediction. I feel like so far with what we've seen, because she knows she's family possibly, and because she knows how to read people, that's how she's made so many predictions. And just, you know, even like animals, like you can observe how cows interact to have an understanding if it's going to rain. It doesn't have to necessarily have this insane ability in order to be able to make predictions like that, but maybe she is an actual god. And I mean, you have Yota himself's name. He's the sun god in terms of what it's translated to. So I'm curious if it's a literal thing or a figurative thing. But honestly, if I had to put my eggs in any basket, heart transplant. I feel like because of the real world implications of the author himself, the writer, the person who made this, I wouldn't be surprised if she has a 30-day limit going forward with her heart or something, or some sort of illness, which I think would be a very emotionally and just bittersweet way, depending on if she lives, or it'll just be complete depression if she doesn't. But at the end of the day, this is currently my favorite work of his. It could easily change. I mean, it definitely does usually with 12 episode works or 12 or 13 episode works of his. They usually don't have the right pacing overall, but so far it feels like I said last week, the 30-day kind of time window that we have, it feels perfect for the amount that we're going for. And I think we have like 25 or 24 days left in this series. I feel like this show is going to continue to be really, really good. One of my personal favorites of the fall season for sure, but let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, your theories. I would really like to know theories and speculations down below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like to show your support, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you have been new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.